Alright, guys. So how I doing today? Time for your fluffy European news. Yeah, I said it. No deal Brexit under fire. Parliament grabs brakes against Boris Johnson. Uh, this one is from Reuters. British lawmakers on Thursday approved proposals to make it harder for the next Prime Minister to force through a no-deal Brexit by suspending Parliament, showing again their resolve to stop a divorce from the European Union without an agreement. Like I said, Theresa May already negotiated the only deal you guys are going to be allowed to have, so it's either her deal or no deal. Plain and simple. There's no two ways about it at this point. The 3-year Brexit crisis is deepening as Boris Johnson, the favourite to win the premiership, has pledged to leave the EU with or without a transition deal on October 31st, setting Britain on a collision course with the bloc and his own parliament. The OBR budget watchdog underlined the high stakes, saying Britain might be entering a full-blown recession that a no-deal exit from the EU would only compound, blowing a £30 billion, or $37.46 billion, hole in the public finances. Johnson, a conservative ex-foreign minister, has refused to rule out proroguing or suspending the House of Commons to prevent lawmakers from passing legislation to block his exit plan if he tries to exit without a deal. In a bid to complicate any such maneuver, lawmakers adopted by a 315-274 margin a proposal that would require Parliament to be sitting to consider Northern Irish affairs for several days in September and October, even if it was suspended. You know, in a backwards sort of way, the situation between Boris Johnson and the British Parliament would sort of resemble Donald Trump and the House of Representatives here in the United States. Him not agreeing with them trying to block anything he tries to do, it would be very, very similar on its face, certainly. Don't deny it. It would be very, very similar. And just as stupid and petty. And the politicians bickering like little children. It's great. But yeah, that Northern Ireland situation in terms of Brexit, yeah, you guys got to work that out. You could literally end up slicing the nation in half. Still, America has promised to pay tributaries and try and help Ireland, which would be very cool of us if we did that. But I would just hope that it wouldn't become necessary. I think if you were to set up a clear border establishing what is Ireland, what is not, and maybe even giving Ireland the chance to be part of the EU and just have Britain leave, break up the UK, I think that would be an acceptable standard. The Scottish have been asking from the very same thing anyway, being allowed out of the UK. So, they also rendered a requirement for ministers to make fortnightly reports on progress towards re-establishing Northern Ireland's collapsed, devolved executive, and to give lawmakers an opportunity to debate and approve those reports. The measures do not amount to an outright block on suspending Parliament, but could make it much more difficult to bypass lawmakers. It is yet to become law, but is not expected to be rejected. Those hoping to stop a no-deal Brexit believe that if Parliament is sitting in the run-up to October 31st, they will have the chance to prevent Britain leaving without a deal, the current legal default position. We are responsible for ensuring or trying to ensure good governance. We're supposed to be the protectors of the nation, Conservative lawmaker Dominic Grieve, one of those behind the proposal, said during the debate ahead of the vote. If a Northern Irish Assembly, which collapsed in 2017, is re-established over the summer, the opportunity to use this legislation to block a no-deal would fall away, as the government would no longer need to report on its progress. This is not expected to happen, however. Now, moving on, the article reads, Full-blown recession. Brexit without a divorce deal, as anti-EU hardliners would like, would abruptly wrench the world's fifth largest economy away from the bloc. Critics say this would undermine global growth, buffet financial markets, and weaken London's position as the preeminent international financial centre. A no-deal Brexit could cause the economy to contract by 2% by the end of 2020. The OBRs had said, citing International Monetary Fund forecasts. Eurosceptic Brexiters assert that the economy slowed by less than feared after the 2016 Brexit referendum, and that such forecasts are simply scaremongering. Opponents of a no-deal Brexit say it would be a disaster for Britain, and many lawmakers say their duty would be to prevent any leader from triggering such a course. The results of a Conservative membership bailout to choose the next party leader and Prime Minister will be announced on July 23rd, with incumbent Theresa May resigning the next day, ousted after she failed 3 times to win parliamentary ratification of the Brexit deal she reached with the EU. A junior culture minister resigned after being among 17 Conservatives who rebelled against the government to vote for the proposals on Thursday to beef up Parliament's ability to hamper a no-deal Brexit. Business Minister Greg Clark and International Development Minister Rory Stewart both abstained on the vote but do not plan to resign their aides, said. British media reported that pro-EU Finance Minister Philip Hammond, who is likely to be sacked if Johnson wins the top job, also obtained. Hammond commented on Twitter, "It should not be controversial to believe that Parliament be allowed to sit and have a say during a key period in our country's history." A spokesman for May's office said the Prime Minister is obviously disappointed that a member of ministers failed to vote in the afternoon's decision. No doubt her successor will take this into account when forming their government. All in all, I would say that Brexit will have an effect on the EU, and a negative effect at that. And I say good, because looking in from the outside, what I see over there in the EU, I do not like it. A general disrespect for national sovereignty, a lack of proper representation of a nation's people, just straight up despotism and pure self-interest. Borderline dictatorship led from Brussels. Is that really what Europe wants? Do they want a super state led by Brussels? Like, really? Because that's what you're getting. You may not realize it, but that is exactly what you're getting. But Brexit itself will be difficult. There will be blood, sweat, tears, pain, crying, joy, sadness, dogs and cats living together, raining heads, severed heads down from the sky. Or at least that's how it looks on an emotional level, certainly. It may not be on a practical level, though. I think the biggest caveat really is just that whole, Ireland situation. What do you do with that whole North Ireland, South Ireland thing? That definitely needs to be sorted out. And admittedly, my solution to the idea is not necessarily what they'd want or that good, but to establish a clear border stating what is Ireland, what is not Ireland, and including as much of North and South Ireland together as physically possible. And then helping to resolve the situation between the Catholics and the Protestants through negotiation. And also cracking down on the IRA. And I mean cracking down hard. Categorizing them, treating them as what they are. A terrorist organization. I would see them as no different than Antifa here in the United States. Same deal. A domestic terrorist organization that uses fear and violence to get what they want. And any Protestant group that has an issue with the IRA, of course, a lot of them do that shit too, so they're both equally guilty. Anyway, hope everything goes well for you. Yeah, Boris Johnson looks to be your best chance, though. Anyway.